Hi, welcome back to another episode of Teddy Talks. I'm joined today with Christine from our Career Center. I want to give her this opportunity to introduce herself. Christine?
Hi, thanks for having me here, Teddy. My name is Christine Bautista, Senior Career Counselor at SJSU. I'm assigned to support undeclared students, first years, transfers. I'm also able to assist students who are enrolled in the College of Education, College of Social Sciences, and the School of Social Work.
Awesome. Welcome. And thank you for joining us, because I think this is an important topic, especially what do we do while we're in college and post, graduation, things like that. We want to think about careers, right? So tell us a little bit more about the Career Center. What do y'all do? Do you just help us after graduation, or can you help us with internships? What do y'all do?
I think that's a common misperception, is that we only help people who are about to graduate, but we really help people with their career planning. So as soon as I think academic and career planning needs to go hand in hand, right? Because like most students are in college because their goal is to find work, right? Like right after. And so the sooner that you can start thinking about your career plan, the better it will be for you. So we really encourage students to, see a career counselor, come visit us, take advantage of our services as soon as possible, as soon as they're at SJSU. Like, I understand, like when you're in your first year, you're still trying to navigate stuff and, all that good stuff. So I would suggest, like, as soon as you're able to adjust, connect with us so we can help you better.
So yeah, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. This is a different mindset, change mindset. You've talked about career planning. So if we go down that road, what are some of the tips, or what are things that students should start thinking about if they want to, let's say, find a part-time job or an internship? When should they start reaching out to you?
Yeah, I would say, if you're not yet actively looking, even if you're not actively looking, I would suggest already go on SJSU Handshake, which is the online job database. So it has all of the opportunities on campus, off campus, work study, part-time jobs, internships, full-time jobs, everything that you're looking for, remote work. There's opportunities posted on Handshake. Even if you're not actively looking, I suggest that you start looking at it, because then you can get an idea of, when I'm ready, let's say you're a freshman and your plan is to get an internship in your sophomore year. You already have an idea of the types of things or skills that the employer is looking for, right? Like when you look at the job description, you get an idea, they're looking for someone who has familiarity with social media or whatever, right? Depending on the roles that you're interested in. But the more that you research, the more that you can be more intentional about what types of experiences do I need to get, right? Like, the role that let's say you want to be a marketing intern. The role requires that I'm familiar with social media. Like, how do I do that? Maybe you see this on-campus job where you're managing the social media for one of the departments, right? So then you get an idea, these are the types of things that I should be going for, right? I would say, do some research already, even if you're not actively looking for jobs.
Now, let's talk about, from looking at job descriptions, maybe, briefly, how do we look at job descriptions? But I think more importantly, how do we package kind of our experiences, whether, other jobs or other experiences on campus, leadership positions? How do we package kind of all those random spots into a nice thing? And can you help?
Yes, we can definitely help. I think you might be referring to a resume where you can include all of your experiences, right? I mean, the purpose of a resume is to promote yourself, right? Like as the best candidate for the job. And so your resume should be tailored to the specific job that you're looking for. So I see a lot of students who come to me and say, I couldn't get a a job on campus as a student assistant, right? And then when I look at their resume, most of the things that they're researching about themselves are previous research experience, which is not really what a student assistant role might necessarily be requiring, right? Because like a student assistant role might be requiring more of like customer service, right? Like more of the administrative type of thing. And so if you want to really look at the job description and assess like which of my experiences relate to what the employer is looking for, right? Like you can't, it's impossible. I will already say it's impossible. Let's say there's 10 things that an employer is looking for. It's impossible for you to have all of the 10 things unless you've done the job previously, right? And so I would say even if you just like had 5 things on the 10 wish list of the employer, I would highlight those 5 things on your resume, right? So yeah, that's what I would suggest that students do. And then if you need help with your resume, there's actually an app. It's called VMock. If you go to the Career Center website, or even just one SJSU, type VMock, it should pop up. And then you can upload your resume in PDF form, and it will do like a quick resume review for you. It is, an app, so it's not a human being. If you're like, what, I need to talk to someone about my resume, reach out to your career counselor. So we're on Spartan Connect. So however you find your academic advisor, that's also how, you just have to select Career Center as the unit, and then you can set up appointments with career counselors.
And you mentioned y'all provide resume help. Then what about if I am trying to do interviews? Do we get to do interview prep? I know most right now are on Zoom, but maybe can you also do in-person practice interviews? What are some of those things? Yes,
definitely. So we also have an app for that. It's called Big Interview. So you could practice doing virtual interviewing. Which is pretty cool because given COVID, a lot of jobs, your first interview is probably going to be like this, right? Instead of doing it in person. So I think getting some practice doing virtual interviews is probably going to be helpful. But we also will help with, if you need to talk to a career counselor, again, set up an appointment. We can, do some mock interviews if you find, that's helpful. In addition to the apps, we also have guides on our website, like on the Career Center website. There's different guides for different topics, like under, if you go, there's a resources tab. So if you click on that, there's like list of like different topics, and then you'll find like specific guides for like whether it's resume or interviewing.
Thank you for that, and definitely we will make sure we note all those helpful guides, whether it's the interview or the resume, on our bio to make sure people know where to search. Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier you also help students that are undeclared. Maybe let's talk about that piece, because I know for some of our students that are potentially watching, they don't have a major yet. So how do I find a job or an internship if I don't know what I want to major in, or I don't know what I want to do even?
Yeah. And I would say like that is a normal feeling. Like if, like how do I start if I don't even know where to begin, like that kind of deal. It's totally normal. And I will say, I think that's where exploration comes in, right? Like you have to explore, you have to try out new things. It also helps. So with the Career Center, we have another app, which is called Focus 2. And it basically is an app. It's an assessment tool where it takes account your preferences and gives you some suggestions on possible majors that are available at San Jose State based on your interest. And also possible occupations to explore based on your interest. So it's customized in that way. So it's easy to use, but if you want, again, talk about your results, you're like, I don't know, this is not making sense, again, speak with me or another counselor. We'd be happy to help you, go over your results. So I think doing some assessments, trying out different things, those are things that you could do, right? Like get involved on campus, because sometimes you don't know what you like until you try it, right? Like kind of like with food, right? Like, like you have to try different things to know that you like it. And sometimes with exploring, whether it's jobs or majors or whatnot, sometimes you have to, to try it and see what it's like. So I would say that's valid, what that kind of thinking, but you do have to start somewhere. And if you need help figuring out where to begin, connect with me or another career counselor, we'd be happy to help.
Now, going along that line, you mentioned about exploring, the idea of exploring and finding potential career path or majors and things like that. What kind of tips or what kind of advice can you share with students that are new to the campus, whether they're transfer students or first-time freshman students? What kind of tips for success can you give them?
Yeah, I would say do a self-assessment so you can get some ideas for occupations or majors to explore. We also have an app, it's SJSU Square, which is the online mentoring platform. And so there are alumni on that platform who volunteer their time to talk to students, right? Like future alumni like themselves, talk about like, careers and give some, guidance for our students. So for example, let's say, I'm interested in psychology, but I don't know what careers there are. So you might go on SJSU Square, look for people with a psychology major, and then you'll see people with different backgrounds, right? And then you'll have the opportunity to connect through the platform and, maybe set up like a 15 or 30-minute video call and ask questions about, what got you interested in this career? Like, how did psychology help you? What would, if you could do it all over again, like what would you do different, right? Like, so having conversations with people who have gone before you, right, who may have similar interests and getting some ideas from them.
Oh, that's really awesome. Now, when we're talking about some of those pieces, then, as we wrap up our time with you, what are some other advice? We talked about the transfer students, we talked about the first years. As someone that is potentially transitioning, ready to graduate, what are some of the things that they need to bring front of their mind as they're getting ready to graduate?
I would say, again, keep in contact with the Career Center, take advantage of the resources that we have, like all of the apps, all of the guides, meeting with your career counselors. And also, trying things out, gain some experience, whatever it is, whether it's part-time job, on campus, off campus, being involved in school, through clubs, organizations. So I find that, employers really like to see students who try different things, not just focusing on academics. Of course, that's the main reason why you're at San Jose State. But it's not just about your knowledge, right? Like, it's about your skills and how are you applying what you're learning, and so whether it's in the context of your clubs or, or other jobs, volunteer experience, just any type of experience that allow you to sort of practically apply what I think that's going to be helpful for you. So, try something different, do other stuff. So don't just, focus on academics. Of course, that's your number one, but realize that, you want to engage in activities that complement your academic journey, right?
I know I said we're going to try to wrap this up, but I really like what you just said. And if you could tell us more about what that means, because I think that's really intriguing. finding things that complement your academic experience, because I've always thought maybe, hey, the companies, they're looking for only what kind of degree or what kind of classroom experiences, not the things that complement. Can you tell us more about what that looks like?
Yeah, so I will say, like, I just recently, for example, like went to it's called the National Career Development Association conference just this June, and people were talking about like the future of work and all that stuff, and really like a lot of employers are focusing on skills, right? So it's not just again like what you read in books, what but like how are you applying, right? Like what are you learning and practicing, right? And so it's important, to gain experience, right, and build up on that. I've heard employers, for example, say, I'd rather hire someone who has like a 3.0 than someone who has a 4.0, but just focus on academics, because maybe this 3.0 student like was juggling like 2 part-time jobs, like doing other things where they're gaining practical real life, experience, right? And I will say, if you think about it, like there are only few jobs that require specific degrees, right? Like unless you're going for a licensed profession, most jobs, they'll say they prefer like this type of major, of course, but most jobs don't really require like, specific degrees, right? Like, for example, like there's no psychology job, like there are engineering jobs, but there are no psychology jobs, right? Like if you have a background in psychology, you can apply yourself in so many different areas. You can get into education, you can get into business, you can get into marketing, you can get into research. So it's really like, what am I learning in my discipline that I really like? And where do I find my, in what context can I apply what I'm learning? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that really does. And I really like that, because I think as you're talking about that's a good shift as we're talking about. And I think it's a good tie back into the focus too that you're talking about, and doing some of those assessment, letting your passion lead your exploration in terms of what kind of career path or what kind of majors that you want to explore.
Yeah. And I think it's really like, what are you interested in? What skills are you building? And I say that because there's a lot of jobs that are going to be obsolete 10 years from now, right? And they're going to be jobs that will be created that we don't know of, right? Like, just in the last decade or so, there were no social media community manager jobs because social media did not exist.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine like 10, 20 years from now, there will be jobs where, that'll be created that don't exist yet, right? Having said that, those that became social media managers, right, like from the beginning, since there were no jobs that way, I wonder what their backgrounds were, right? Like, because there's no major like that prepares you for that, So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're interested in something, go for it, build some skills, because I think that's going to be more important as, the world of work, changes, right?
Thank you so much. Now let's wrap up with this question. If we want to continue this conversation, talking of, or maybe being able to meet one-on-one to talk in more depth about whether it's my resume or focus 2 assessment, all those things. What is the best way for a student to get a hold of someone at your office?
So there's, I guess, different ways to do it. One, like I mentioned earlier, Spartan Connect. We're on Spartan Connect, so you can find us. If you want to see the face associated to the counselor name, if you go to our website, you can go to the About Us section, and then you'll see the list of counselors, what their liaisons for. So you want to find out who let's say you're interested in business. So Larissa would be your counselor. So you can find out who might be a good person to connect with. If you're undeclared, you can just connect with me. My email is my first name, Christine.Bautista@sjsu.edu. You can reach me that way, or again, find me on Spartan Connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine. I really appreciated this and a lot of great insights into what is the next step in terms of experience and careers that a student can get here at San Jose State. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Go with the brother.